right, welcome back. And we do have on Zoom, let's welcome the Honourable Shamfa Cudjoe, member of Tobago West, and of course a member of the Joint Select Committee. Good morning, ma'am, and welcome.
Hi, good morning, Brother B. Thank you for having me this morning. Good morning, Tobago. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Right. Later on, we will take some calls with your permission, of course. That's all right. I mean, that is, yeah. All right. Let's get into it. 2 weeks were granted for the rest of the voices to, as was said by Camille Robinson-Regis that we had on Monday. That was granted. However, and so I'll give you an opportunity to bring context to what is offered and what should be done leading up to July 15th.
Okay. Yes, let's touch on that. So when we met with the political parties, the assemblymen and the political parties on June 4th, some of them would have asked for an extension of 2 weeks. And we said, although the committee's life was ended or scheduled to end on May 31st, that we'll be able to receive comments and recommendations all the way to the third reading of the legislation. So that includes committee stage, and that was on June 4th, all up to June 24th, or should I say June 28th, when the debate started. We had only received comments from Nikosi Philip, who is from Unity of the People. He's from that party, and later on in the day at 1:27, we received comments or the communique from Mr. Hochoy Charles and Fadi Augustine, and that would have been 24 days later, more than 2 weeks later. And we debated the matter on the parliamentary floor, and now we're at a committee of the whole. And a committee of the whole is made up of all the members of the specific house. So in this case, the members of the House of Representatives, that's all elected members, and that's an important part of the legislative process where we go into a committee of the whole, so that those who had not been a part of the Joint Select Committee, all elected members who are responsible for placing a vote, now have the opportunity to deliberate on all the matters, all the comments, clause by clause. And just like over the years where we have done the consultations and received submissions and comments, we line them up with legislation and go through clause by clause. And in the same fashion as all comments had been given due consideration in the past, we will be able to grant or to give due consideration. And I want to say that it's not just limited to political parties, because I've been following and listening to the discourse, and we want to ensure to encourage individuals also who may have comments to feel free to submit those comments and their different amendments to the legislation. I've been listening to the conversation, and it's interesting to recognize that so many people are making comments on not making general comments, some comments even emotional comments. But what we are trying to say is, let's look at the clauses. If you have an issue with a specific clause, or you think something could be said more eloquently or more nicely or more pointedly, or as Ingrid Melville will have said last night, Ms. Ingrid spoke to the general principles that we have requested are already there. Okay. However, there are some areas that could be made sharper. Much. Yes.
All right. Well, let's go to one of the issues that the is drawing attention and maybe needs to be addressed. The whole issue of Service Commission, Tongue and Country and Service Commission as well. So let's say that the voices agree that, look, this matter needs to give Tobago not just someone to sit on the Service Commission, but to have the Service Commission issues in Tobago be addressed in Tobago by a Service Commission established in Tobago. That is
okay. I'm glad you raised that.
Yes.
I'm glad you raised that, Brother B. The matter of having a Tobago Service Commission that had been dealt with at the level of the committee and had been ventilated, where we would have explored having a separate Tobago Service Commission may not be as beneficial as we think it may be.
Why? Why is that, Ms. Cudjoe?
Right, as it relates to allowing Tobagonians to climb the ladder in the public service to achieve their aspirations as it relates to higher offices within the public service. So what was recommended is to have Tobago matters be handled by members on the Public Service Committee, and they must form a part of the quorum when matters relating to Tobago are discussed. And this matter was not just raised nowhere. Let's go back to, because Ms. Melville raised a document that I think that those of us who are in the know and who wish to be open and honest about the conversation should dive into this document, where the members of the Forum of the Political Parties would have on September 23rd, 2016, done a discussion paper, a background on the Constitution Amendment Bill matter. And even when you look at this matter of the Service Commission, they looked at the challenges that we may face as it relates to Tobagonians being able to climb the ladder to access opportunities in the Trinidad space also.
Yeah. All right, let me go ahead. So let's say, as was said by Ms. Robinson-Regis, whatever is put before the Joint Select Committee now, the committee stage of this treating with this, that this issue of Service Commission, Farley, Hochai Charles, whoever, agree that Tobago should have its own Service Commission. We don't want what they are proposing here. They say that Public Service Commission to include a Tobago representative and to have and to replace that with Tobago Service Commission running its own. If that is put into the new the opportunity in these 2 weeks to do that, according to what Camille Robinson-Regis is saying, it will be considered. Can it be accepted? It could be considered, but will it be accepted? And if not, why not?
I think anything that is submitted to us will be considered, like have been considered in the past. But that does not take away from what the advice from the experts have been, or what the advice from the public service have been. You said that Farley and Mr. Charles would have agreed to that, but there are also other people who have commented on that, and that's why I keep harping on reading the report, because reading the report is critical in looking at what was considered when making a decision or proposing a specific matter. I want to point to page 17 of the discussion paper that was submitted on September 23rd of 2016, along with the 2016 bills. And it says, these are the comments made by the former political parties. The administration of the House of Assembly must have the executive authority over its staff, hence the need for a Tobago Service Commission. There is strong support for the proposed amendment of a Tobago Services Commission outlined in Section 121 of Bill A. The Commission should remain as it's presently provided, save and except the Tobago House of Assembly should be adequately represented. So they're then saying that the Commission should stay as it is, save and except the THA should be adequately represented. Point number 4 is it makes no sense to have a Tobago Service Commission when this will stymie the upward mobility of Tobagonians. Yes, there are concerns that the bill is suggesting a move to break away from Trinidad with respect to job opportunities, particularly in terms of public service positions. And these were considerations and matters raised as early as then in 2016, and they came up again when we engaged the Public Service Commission and when we deliberated on those matters before us. Because you have to understand, it's not a PNN bill. I hear some people trying to shift in that direction. But we would have engaged the legal luminaries, the associations within Trinidad and Tobago, experts not just from Trinidad and Tobago, but from other jurisdictions also. And what we're trying to do is create the best legislation, maintain the unitary state as we were asked to do and provide the
but
position
let's go now to Ms. Cudjoe.
Right,
the deadline is the 15th. They've been clamoring for more time, and that has been agreed upon. And I ask about, because I remember not so long ago, I can't remember which party, but they spoke about not receiving correspondence. And I ask you as area representative of Tobago West, do you see it necessary to send correspondent, because they can always say and make a political added football out of the already political football that this matter is, and say that they have not received correspondent? Do you think it's prudent, or it is decent or mannerly to send correspondent to the varying political parties, given the possible outcome of this 2 weeks extension?
I'm not clear on the question that you're asking.
I'm asking, do you think it is important to send correspondence to the parties? Do you think that they should?
What type of correspondence? Because we have been communicating and sending copies of the bills and our considerations and so on to the political parties. So I'm not clear on the question that you're asking.
So, right, because Camille, when I asked Camille Robinson Regis the same question, she said, no, this is enough. Public announcement is enough. But because I'm living in the politics and I know how miserable we could be.
To write formally, you're saying to write formally, inviting them to.
Yeah.
I don't think that is necessary at this time, because it is already a public document. It's in the media. It's everywhere. Everybody knows right now. That you are allowed more time. And they themselves said, I've been listening to the conversation, that they are meeting with their supporters and so on as it relates to recommending amendments. So to say that they are not aware, they very well are aware, and I'm pleased that they are utilizing the opportunity.
We are all hoping. We are all hoping. We are all hoping. That's why I just wanted clarity. Let's go to the policy issues. Another policy issue that would have gotten some disagreement with, and that's the whole question of borrowing. Julian John would have had a press conference and said, it's still the same thing. You have to get permission from the Minister of Finance. Let's say that if I had to write in this document that is going to be put forward, I would say Tobago should have the freedom to borrow. Of course, to have some monitoring, whereas to give accountability for what the investment is, why we need to borrow, how we're going to pay it back, and that sort of thing. But to get permission, I think, is the issue here. Let's say that is put forward. How do you think that would be accommodated with the Joint Select Committee?
I don't think it's a matter of getting permission. It's a matter of consulting with the Minister of Finance, and he shall not withhold the ability or the okay to borrow unnecessarily or without proper reasoning and explanation, which must be given to the Tobago people and the Tobago House of Assembly. You see, we are still a unitary state, and we have been asked, we have to remember what the mandate of the committee, what was given to the committee and the remit of the committee, and what we were asked to do. And the most profound and primary or fundamental thing as it relates to that is maintaining the unitary state. And if all units of the unitary state have to liaise with the Minister of Finance, who is still responsible for the debt profile of the country, then based on the advice that we have received, that is the best thing to do so. I think many of the items raised, because I listened to Mr. Gustin and Ms. Melville last night, a lot of the concern is geared around interpretation and how the clauses were drafted. Many of the basic principles that were proposed in 2016 are in the legislation, are in the proposed legislation, and also are set to be enshrined in the Constitution. If there's a smoother way to say certain things, of course, like Ms. Melville said last night, you can't read and spell everything or flesh out or explain everything in the legislation. At the end of the day, this is about law and drafting law and so on. There may be some things that one lawyer may say in one specific way that another lawyer may say in another way. Of course, we have the support and the assistance of the Chief Parliamentary Council, and they have been really doing the drafting and looking at legislation from other countries and so on as it relates to getting it right. So if parties or even individuals wish to propose a better way to say something, or as Ms. Melville said last night, making it sharper, then this is the opportunity to do so. And I want to say, a committee of the whole is not a new thing, or a committee of the whole lasting several days or over a period of time is not a new thing. I've been in the parliament for 11 years. And I have seen committees of the whole sat over days. I remember when we were doing the planning and facilitation bill, that was an issue where we did the committee stage for days, also the procurement bill. So this is a very heavy piece of legislation where the constitutional amendment bill has over 20-something clause. And then the other bill, the Tobago and Government bill, has 60-something clause. And they cannot be taken in a group like sometimes at the Committee of the Whole, we take clauses in a group if they're related, or part 1, part 2, part 3. You have to go in clause by clause.
All right, let's go for the break, Madam. And when we come back, we go further into it. Of course, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to Ms. Jolene John yesterday when she said no one approached the opposition leader, and I want to get your thoughts on that and other matters. See you after the break.
Wonderful.
This year, avoid bacteria with cleaning supplies. Made locally superior quality, a family brand you can't deny. Detergents formulated to be better. Fabric softeners make laundry day brighter. All sanitizers are multi-purpose. To spend your pennies where it's a purpose.
Z's Cleaning Supplies is the new trusted brand for household cleaning. Visit us on Facebook and Instagram at Z's Cleaning Supplies. Place an order by calling us on 340-4610.
In these unsure financial times, protection of your hard-earned financial assets is a priority. We at MI4 Security Cash in Transit Service are sure to grant you peace of mind. Fully insured services. Call us today at 660-7723 or 635-2144. MI4 Security Services Company Limited, keeping Tobago safe.
Belfon Hardware, number 17 Canby, Mount Pleasant. For all your hardware needs, get blocks, cement, sand, plumbing supplies, toilet sets, lumber, garden tools, and much more. We also specialize in cupboard doors. Belfon's Hardware, open Sunday to Friday from 8 a.m. Call 631-0911.
Who say you had to go to town to get the best in wholesale prices? Check out Goldsboro Minimart today for the best in wholesale and retail prices. We have Coca-Cola, Smalta, Malta, juice, 10 kg powder soap, 5 liter dishwasher liquid, 5 liter fabric softener, detergents, and so much more. And newly added to our shelves, genuine parts for trucks and pickups. Mitsubishi, Kia, Hyundai, Nissan, and Isuzu. Check Goldsboro Minimart, located Goldsboro Main Road, conveniently open Sunday to Friday, 7 a.m. to sunset. Contact us today at 660-4095.
All right, welcome back. All right, let's get into it. And not less than 3/4 of all the members in the House of Representatives is required, and not less than 2/3 in the Senate is required to have this bill passed. Yesterday, I did ask Jolene John about, how are they feeling going into this? And she responded that no one, the Prime Minister, know that they need our support, and no one has approached the opposition leader. Do you see it needed, let me put it mildly, to approach the opposition for some calm, as it were, to get this bill passed? Or do you think that our response is reasonably acceptable?
I think it's a disingenuous and tricky position, because the opposition has been part and parcel of this process since 2018. And if you look at the letter written by Ramona Ramdale, who was the member representing the opposition in the 2018 to 2020 Joint Select Committee, she voiced her opinion as it relates to being deeply involved in the process and how everybody's opinions were taken into consideration and so on. And Miss Jillian John, along with Rambali and Endarsing, the opposition had been part and parcel. I remember when we were getting ready to do consultations, they were recommending we should go to this station and that station and so on. And then when it was time to offer yourself to go to these stations, they were absent, very absent. And I think the opposition is playing a very clever trick by saying they've submitted a minority report. They have been part and parcel of the process as it relates to the consultations and interviewing the witnesses and sitting with the United Nations and all that we have done over the years. The opposition is saying to Tobago, we need to go back to Tobagonians, and then going in their press conferences and saying to Trinidad, look, Tobago is about to get X, Y, and Z, and they haven't talked to you, knowing and saying that we should then do extensive consultations in Trinidad also. And that is it's an interesting position, because we know going to Trinidad and having this level of intense consultations, it's going to delay the process some more, one, and you're going to have new positions that we are going to have to take into consideration. I have seen proposals and positions from members in Trinidad, some people in Trinidad saying, why is Tobago getting so much? And they use a pie of 100% divided by 41 constituencies, would give each constituency 2.1%, and when you add up what is being offered to Tobago, Tobago is getting 3-point-something%. Yeah, so I'm looking at the conversation and looking at these new positions, and the opposition constantly saying, oh, we must go to Trinidad and consult extensively and so on. You were part of the process the whole time. And Tobago, and no, allow me please, Brother Pete, because when you look at the submissions over the years, it had come from Tobagonians, Trinidadians, people from far and wide who have submitted written submissions to the committee, and they all have been considered. And for the opposition who have been a part and parcel of the discussions over the years to now come at this point to say we need to approach them, I think that's disingenuous, especially at a time where we are gathered at a parliament to ventilate the matter, to air our concerns, and to sit at committee. Because you remember in the when we were working on the legislation in 1980, it was Winston Murray of one side and over on Palomar of the PNM sat down and worked together at committee stage to sharpen the clauses. And that is what committee stage is all about, a committee of the whole. Because remember, a joint select committee was only 12 of us. A committee of the whole is all 41 of us. So any idea, any concerns, any recommendations that any member has at that point in time, you get to offer it on the floor so that we can all ventilate it and then vote. Let me ask two things.
I want to treat with the response of the opposition leader, and of course the political grand charging may look good. I did ask Jillian John how she felt, and I'm asking you the same thing. The opposition leader would have torn up the bill that she said, and of course there are those in Tobago who agree that that bill is it is not as valuable as what she would have offered with the green paper then in 2013 thereabout. Now, and of course the walk out. How do you see, as a Tobagonian, how do you feel that the opposition would have taken that slant?
I felt offended as a Tobagonian. I felt disrespected, and I still do, because this represents the culmination of years of consultation, and we know very well that this is not a PNM exercise. This came out of Ashworth Jack raising this motion in 2006, and then the establishment of several committees, the work of the John Prince Committee, and then consultations from 2007 to 2011, and then again from 2014 to 2016. All of this is represented in the documents before us, and the general principles proposed are in the document. If you are in a position to make it sharper, and you have been a part of the Joint Select Committee also, why not use the opportunity of the Parliament and the parliamentary floor to make your recommendations? I saw it as a slap in the face to Tobagonians, and on one end you have Mr. Augustine and Mr. Charles proposing recommendations to the said bill, and then you on the other end tearing it up and going around the place asking people to rubbish the bills. It's unfortunate, and they clearly don't understand how near and dear to our hearts this process is and what we are trying to accomplish. This is 14 years of research, of consultations, of reaching out to the United Nations, St. Kitts Nevis, Canada, Tanzania, the Scottish Parliament, and all that research stand a chance of redounding to naught by not getting to take this major step or make this major leap at this point in time. Having worked on this committee from 2018 to now, and having followed these conversations and consultations throughout Trinidad and Tobago, I want to see the passage of this legislation. I want, as Ms. Ingrid Melville said last night, this is accruing and affording to Tobago many improvements. Let's see how we can make it sharper every single step of the way. I myself have made a proposal. I have submitted an amendment.
What was your proposal? What was your proposal, Shamfa?
I submitted a proposal on the 29th to the Parliament. I made my formal submission where we're asking to increase the number of representatives from Tobago on the FRC, the Fiscal Review Committee. And you would hear people saying it's cabinet heavy. That's because it's 2 people from the cabinet and 1 person from the Tobago Island government. And I think it is important that if you have 2 from the cabinet, you ought to have at least 2 from the Tobago Island government. To me, as somebody with a background in economics and international trade, the FRC is a very important piece of this legislation, and it was proposed by in the 2016 bill, because that allows us to strengthen our economic position, to have access to sharing of resources, all these maritime resources that we talk about, to strengthen our ability to identify what is our real economic contribution to the unitary state or to the economy of Trinidad and Tobago, and I want us to be properly represented there. So that clause 43, I've made a submission, a formal submission, which is now before the Parliament. That's an amendment, and I want to see other people, if you have a way of making it sharp or any ideas and recommendations, just like we said on June 4th.
All right, Ms. Shamfa, we do have our commitments. We gotta go for morning news. When we come back, we will allow the public to interact with you by asking questions on the bill. So let's go for news, and we'll be right back.
Paying your Trico cable bill just got easier. Simply log on to www.tricott.com and choose online payment, or log into your online banking, RBL, FCB or Scotiabank, and add Trico as a pay. Yep, it's that easy. No stress, no more hassle, no more long lines. Just pure relaxation and social distancing from the comfort of your space. For more information, contact 639-4457 or log on to www.tricott.com. Trico Industries Limited. We are here for you.
Belfon Hardware, number 17 Canby, Mount Pleasant. For all your hardware needs, get blocks, cement, sand, plumbing supplies, toilet sets, lumber, garden tools, and much more. We also specialize in cupboard doors. Belfon's Hardware, open Sunday to Friday from 8 a.m. Call 631-0911.
When you need electronics, find what you want quickly at Ted Electronics. We have tons of brand name items in smartphones, tablets, LCD and smart TVs, headphones and speakers. For the best in electronics, check Ted. Amazing service and the lowest prices guaranteed. Located upstairs Moosehead Plaza, Bethany Road, Tobago. Ted Electronics, your ideal choice for electronics.
Hey you, how are you doing? Kevin told me, Hannah told me, Lisa told me that you're looking for a sure investment.
This isn't public knowledge. Only Denise, only Francis, only Indira knows about this.
You can get started today and have money in the bank tomorrow.
Trust me, this is so easy. Darren swears, Aaron swears, Dimitri, Gary swears by this.
It's very low risk. So what are you saying? You in?
Know the signs of a fraudulent investment. Do your research and ensure the investment is registered. Don't lose your hard-earned money. Think before you invest. Beat investment fraud. This is a message from the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission.
Tune in to Spot On. A new episode premieres every Tuesday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Channel 5.
Good morning, Tobago. Thank you for joining us today, Wednesday, 7th of July, 2021, for the Rise and Shine Morning News. The Ministry of Health confirmed 250 new COVID-19 positive cases and 4 additional deaths. These cases were from samples taken during the period July 2nd to July 5th and not in the last 24 hours. This brings the total number of active cases to 6,378 and 903 deaths. 233 persons are presently being quarantined at state facilities, while 123 patients are in state step-down facilities. In Tobago, the Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development reported 25 additional COVID-19 positive cases in the last 24 hours. 9 persons were discharged. The total number of active cases on the island is now 131, with remaining at 27 deaths. At the UNC Virtual Monday Night Forum, Opposition Leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar made a prediction as to when the next THA elections will be held. Currently, the Assembly is unable to be properly constituted because of the 6-6 deadlock. However, Persad-Bissessar believes the time is coming for there to be progress in the governance of the island.
She did not provide any supporting information, but Opposition Leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar believes THA elections are soon to be called.
And someone has told me, and I'll share it with you, that the THA election will be in or about September this year.
Persad-Bissessar says the 6-6 situation in the Assembly mirrors that of the 1818 tie in 2001, when the then Prime Minister Patrick Manning held on to power until it was time for the budget.
And then what did he do? He called the election because he had to pass a budget. And you couldn't pass a budget without the Parliament. So it's the same thing for the THA. I tend to believe that in or about September, or certainly in time for September, that the THA election will be called. It will be for the people of Tobago to make their decisions as they see fit.
There are currently only 3 options for a THA election to be called. The first is, according to the law, to wait until the 4th anniversary of the January 25th, 2021 THA elections. The second is the implementation of a bill to amend the current THA Act 40 of 1996 to allow the Chief Secretary to call an election because the House is unable to be constituted, and with 15 seats to avoid another deadlock. That bill is awaiting the President's approval. The third is through the passage of the Tobago self-governance bills that are currently stalled at the committee stage in the Parliament. Those bills need opposition support. However, the UNC continues to state they do not believe it reflects the desires of Tobagonians.
Tobago, what can I say? We prosecuted the Tobago matter. We are in solidarity with the people of Tobago. We stand in defense of the people of Tobago.
During the debate of the bills, the opposition staged a walkout following a dispute over speaking time. According to Persad-Bissessar, it was the latest attempt to silence the opposition, and they are no longer playing nice.
I do not intend to continue to just deal in facts and figures. We have to present those, yes. We have to present plans for development. But we have to answer them when they step out of line. We have to fight. We must fight back. Because no one else is going to do it for us.
Persad-Bissessar said the outrage her side faced because of what happened during the debate is indicative of an unlevel playing field against the dissenting voice. She pointed out that the outrage is never toward the suffering of the many in the country as a result of the pandemic. Instead, it is to silence democracy, which she will no longer allow.
What we are facing is the greatest threat to our freedoms in our history with the Rowley PNM. Now is not a time for playing nice. Now is a time to stand up and fight for our democracy. We are in the middle of a pandemic, but the real danger is the virus that is the Rowley PNM.
Candace Jackson, Channel 5 News.
Today, sunny, breezy, and hazy conditions can be expected regardless of a brisk shower. Nighttime will be mostly settled, breezy and hazy with 1 or 2 showery intervals after midnight. Today's temperature should reach a maximum of 31 degrees Celsius and fall to 26 degrees Celsius. Thank you for joining us for the Rise and Shine News. I am Kristen Salandi. Join us at 6:30 for the full Channel 5 newscast. Enjoy the day.
Welcome back, and we continue our conversation with Ms. Shamfa Cudjoe, member for Tobago West, and of course a member of the Joint Select Committee treating with the Tobago Bill. You do have an opportunity to call in and ask your questions to the minister. Of course, you're going to be respectful. And of course, my duty here is to protect my guests and to treat them the best way so that they will come 100 times over. Not so? All right, so the lines are open, 635-1005-635-1412. And, of course, our question is geared towards the self-governance bill. Any matter, obviously, the 2 weeks has been given for all interests in Tobago and, of course, in Trinidad. And you can make your statement or your amendments or your requests for amendments in a particular area. And they will be considered given what the leader of government business, Ms. Reggie, said. All right, let's take this call. Good morning.
May I share, Brother B, the email address that they can send it to?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's take the calls and then we get to that.
Nice.
Good morning and welcome.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, morning.
Morning.
Bob Marley, the philosopher, in a song said, "In the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty." That is what I'm seeing here in Tobago, that's what I'm hearing. Because a lot of people, because we do not read, because we don't want to take the time to read, decide to follow some folks down a rabbit hole. People who represent party that never supported the PNM because of political jealousy, bad mind, and spite. Right? We have something before us that is better than 1980, is better than 1996, and they're calling and supporting the UNC to reject it. The UNC, who has a history where they have no concern, genuine concern or care for Tobago. When one of their representatives in the parliament, in the budget debate last year, could have said that Tobago, being smaller than a borough, is getting more money than they're supposed to get.
Very good. All right.
Right? So how can they be genuine? How can people take them seriously?
Okay.
There was no consultation in 2013. But the Prime Minister then went before the Parliament on the Friday with a bill just before the election, the Monday, 2 days after. And he's supposed to take that as genuine.
Right. Just give us a question.
Caller,
just
that is better.
All right. Any question you want to pose to the minister?
No, I just wanted to make a statement because it's nonsense I feel like all the time.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Brother B.
Yes.
You know, there is something I want to raise coming out of that comment. There are many people saying, oh, this is a PNM bill. And based on the process, that has not been so because of the level of consultation and having a joint select committee. In the past, when the UNC brought the bill, we may say it's a UNC bill. And it may be more right to say so because they didn't have a joint select committee inviting comments from others, didn't engage the UN, didn't engage legal luminaries, didn't engage international parties, didn't engage the people. But here we are, for the first time, having this wide level of consultations and allowing people to make their submissions and deliberating on the submissions. We have never had that before. This is a people's bill. And yes, the PNM is in government now. Whoever in government has to bring it. But at the end of the day, it would benefit whoever wins the election in Tobago. And I'm saying we should support this. And whoever wins, then it's on them to utilize
let's take a
it to
call,
develop
Ms.
Tobago.
Ms. Cudjoe. Good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning.
Yes.
I am just calling in to get some clarity in clause 47 of the Tobago Island Government Bill, there indicates where public officers may exercise 3 options. But my question is, if there is not a Tobago Service Commission, why is there a need for public officers to transfer to the Tobago Island government?
Good. Very good question. And it had to do with the point that I was raising with the Service Commission. You got the question, Shamfa? Ms. Cudjoe?
He is asking, this section applies to an officer who on the date of coming into force of this act, 1, holds a permanent appointment, 2, or these are the transition clauses, and this is just moving from the Tobago House of Assembly to the Tobago Island government. So we're saying, even though we're going from a body corporate to this type of arrangement, whatever benefits, whatever position you held then, it would be transferred to this new name. So you don't lose anything by moving from the type of entity that we had under the Tobago House of Assembly to the Tobago Island government. That's under the transition clauses.
All right. Let's take another call. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Yes.
Hi. Before I proceed further, I'd just like to humbly ask that I have my, not a lengthy time, but my time to just get my point across quickly before being cut off automatically.
Go ahead.
I was going to comment regarding the autonomy bill, and I would also like to ask, not just Mrs. Cudjoe, but like every other representative or person in Parliament, if it has been fair to the average public when it comes to being educated about the autonomy bill and what is written there at present, when it comes to the educational capacity, do you all, in all honesty, believe that enough was done in terms of educating the general public or residents of Tobago about what is being written in the legislature based on the language used there, and whether or not it has been done in a way where it is fair to the average resident? Aside from that, I would also like to comment further regarding the whole party political agenda that is still being pushed to further create separation amongst us all as residents of Tobago, regardless of position. We are still Tobagonians collectively. And I believe that with anything that we do, we must also respect that and know when it's time to separate party politics agenda and focus on what issues we are presently trying to deal with at hand, which is basically Tobago affairs. So it's no longer an electoral campaigning session, So this is just my viewpoint.
All right.
As well, Mrs. Cudjoe, I had emailed something to you. I'm not sure if I could get on to you directly to have you see what exactly I emailed, but it was regarding democracy and autonomy.
Okay.
Okay. If this caller could leave their phone number offline, that would be helpful.
They
and
probably
I can
left
get
already, but anyway, you can call back and leave your number.
Send a
and the
text
minister.
to 745 West.
Yeah,
and
thank you guys.
Thank
you guys. Yeah. All right. We have another? All right. We have. So your calls are welcome. 635-1005, 635-1412. Yes.
So that caller spoke to education and educating the public. Over the years, we've opened the floor and allowed people to submit their comments to tune into the consultation. So for those who, that would always be a topic for discussion, because there had been so many moves to educate the public by the documentaries and so on that had been circulated by the Parliament, keeping people abreast, making these discussions available to you through YouTube and these little videos and so on. And then we had items like town hall meeting, and then the consultations where you saw on April 30th and May 1st, and then in 2018 and over the years, where if you have something to say, you don't feel to write, you can make an oral submission and get the clarification right there. And then there would always, and over the years, from 2014 to 2016, we went to schools and so on. So at the end of the day, there will always be, nothing is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah? And we continue to
the Parliament, I want you to tell us about the duration after the 2 weeks. The Parliament goes into recess just at September.
No, the Parliament goes into recess this Friday.
This Friday, all right. Well, just talk to us about after all was submitted and all the amendments, what happens after September?
Well, we're talking. We go on this July-August break. So in the month of July, well, most likely this Friday, but the term, this first session ends in September. So we have to complete the work of the committee of the whole.
Okay.
So for however long that takes, we have to complete the work of the committee of the whole before the parliament return. And we don't want to lose all this work.
Yeah. All right, let's take another call. Thank you for that. Good morning and welcome. Caller.
Good morning, Brother B.
Yes.
Good morning, Minister Cudjoe. Good morning to Tobago. Let me take this opportunity to thank Minister Cudjoe for the excellent work that she has been doing in ensuring that Tobago is well educated on this bill. Indeed, this is a time for all of us to come together and advance the development for Tobago. For anyone who believes that this bill should not be passed, this is a grave day, because that means that they are not about Tobago's advancement and Tobago's development. We all may agree that this bill may have its challenges, but it is indeed a step in the right direction. Autonomy is not something that you achieve in one day. It's a journey. It's a process of ensuring that you...
Okay. In the interest of time, just pose your question. Any question?
No, I don't have any questions at this time. I'm just thanking the minister for the hard work that she has been doing to educate all the young people in Tobago.
All right, we got to take that. We got to go on.
Thank you, caller.
Your question, your comments are fine, but let's take another question and then we'll have you respond, Minister.
Brother B, allow me to make this quick comment. The work of the committee of the committee stage can also be carried over into the next session. So let's not think, well, okay, when this deadline comes, it can't move over. The work of the committee can be carried over into the session.
It sounds that way.
Encouraging people to send them in.
Very good.
Right, so I want to make myself abundantly clear.
Good.
Yeah,
right.
The work of the committee to move over to another session.
Yes, let's take another. Good morning and welcome.
To our listener and viewership. My question is, the Minister of Finance of Trinidad and Tobago is subjected to compliance of the Exchequer and Audit Act. Therefore, he conducts his duties within that framework. Yet for Tobago, in terms of the proposal in the bill for the Secretary of Finance, even in borrowing and these financial engagement, he is subjected to the minister or the supervision or to the approval of the minister. Why not allow the Tobago, the Secretary of Finance, the same limitations or conditions as to the minister, where we ensure and provide the tools and the expertise to the office of the Secretary for Finance and have him conduct his duties consistent with the Exchequer and Audit Act?
Excellent question. Thank you for that, Ms. Shamfa Cudjoe. Your response to that. And Alwari made a point similar to that. Can't remember in detail, but get your response. Thank you.
Right. I think that is an incorrect position, because I have looked at this legislation, and if the caller could point me to the clause in question, I'll be able to clarify. Because what came to us was for the matters relating to finances to have the approval of the Ministry of Finance or be brought to the attention of the Ministry of Finance. And we said if we are devolving authority and so on, then the Tobago Island government must be able to make its financial decisions and even create legislation to deal with financial provision, and that is in the legislation. The main thing that requires that consultation and working with the Minister of Finance is the borrowing part. So I think that that caller has incorrect. And if he could point me to that specific clause, I would be happy to clarify, but I know very well that much of the responsibilities that the Ministry of Finance has, or the Minister of Finance has, the Secretary of Finance.
All right, let's take another call. Let's take another call. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning,
sir.
Yes.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to the Honourable
Shamfa
Cudjoe. I want to address the elephant in the room that everyone seems to be avoiding. On my question to the Honourable, Shamfa Cudjoe, is in your position as serving in the national body that oversees Trinidad and Tobago, in which, from that position, you can now see Tobago, you can now see the forest for the trees, because you're looking at Tobago and not at political Tobago parties and so forth. In that position, will you say, or can you say, that one of the reasons Tobago is in this position today, fractured, attempting to prosecute one of its most crucial crossroads in its development, seeking its autonomy, and prosecuting that in a fractured THA position, prosecuting that with a THA that is riding on a holdover executive government, a spare tire, rolling down the highway, would you say that the inability of the parties to assemble the House, to take hold of their oaths as assemblymen and pull themselves together for the good of Tobago, that they knew in January that this moment was coming, and failing to do so, is one of the chief reasons why Tobago is so fractured and why we're hearing voices from so many different directions on a matter that our THA House, our assemblymen, should have been prosecuting as a body. Would you say that, ma'am? And
all right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that question, caller. We have to remember that this process or this journey that we have embarked upon was in the making long before 6/6. I remember coming to Tobago in 2018 with the said committee and doing consultations. Then there are people who are trying to tie the 6/6 matter to the bills. And I'm saying at no point in time, not in 1980, not in 1996, not in 2013, and not now, you're going to have that unanimity. It's a matter of consensus of Tobagonians saying, okay, this is our best position. This is what we can agree to. This is what we wish to move forward with. And even in submitting those bills in 2016, it wasn't a position of unanimity or consensus. When you look in the report and the comments of the People's House and even the allocation and so on, there was not unanimity. Yes, so to say, okay, let's wait until we get unanimity, everybody in Tobago, whether you're politically oriented or not, would never have the same positions all the time. So we have to get to a place of saying, are the basic principles that we aspire to placed in the legislation, yes or no? How do we build on it? Great. You know, and I think that the basic principles are there, and that is when you I look at the discussions, and I was so excited by what I saw last night by the speaker saying, yes, the basic principles are there. How can we sharpen it? And I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to do that, to develop good legislation that would benefit not just the politicians, but Tobagonians, and not just us, the grown folks who have already accomplished or are still working, but those little children who are coming up. We have a duty to
Let's
them.
take another call. Yeah, let's take another. Are we ready? Good morning.
Good morning, Bobby.
Yes, morning.
And good morning to Minister Cudjoe.
Go ahead.
Let me first congratulate you, Bobby, and of course, Minister, for the work that you have been doing. And in fact, the whole committee and all those persons who have made contribution to bringing this bill to where we are today. But just a question really for some clarity. Now, I've seen in the bill that the role of the president is sort of analogous to the role of the president in the cabinet in Trinidad. And in my view, I think it was a good imposition. But it seems to be causing some consternation in certain parts of the island, so some people are asking about it. So I want to get from Minister, what was the thinking, and to give us some clarity in terms of the role of the president in the new Tobago Assembly.
Excellent. All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, caller. Let's look at what was proposed. You see, many people are making comments, but are not looking at what was proposed or what was sent to us in 2016. Let's say first and foremost, we are trying to maintain the unitary state. Yeah. Yes, We are Trinidad and Tobago. The president is not the president of Trinidad, but the president of Trinidad and Tobago. And in the proposals sent to us in 2016, what Tobago was trying to do is cut out the middleman of having to go to a cabinet or having to go to a prime minister and that kind of thing, and having that direct relationship with the president. That is what was asked for. So to ask for that, you've gotten that, and then come to question why the president involved in our business. That's what you requested. The president is still the president of Trinidad and Tobago, and you asked to cut out the middleman as it relates to certain issues. So that part is interesting to me. The president is still the president of Trinidad and Tobago, and we're still one unitary state.
All right, then. Great. I think that was clear enough. Let's take another. Are we ready? And of course, yeah. So, okay, we have a social media question. Can you explain why Tobago cannot have a system of two houses in the present situation? Can we have? Can you explain why Tobago cannot have a system of two houses presently?
Okay, and that's an important question that everybody kept asking, because what was proposed in the legislation was a bicameral system where you're going to have the elected house and then the people's house. But we also must take into consideration the advice we got from the United Nations, the advice that we got from the legal luminaries, and Tobagonians who are also asking this question must be open and honest about what was proposed. Because in our proposals, and even in this 2016 document of the 23rd of September, even the framers, the recommenders, the people from the forum of the political parties were saying this thing is not well thought out. This may be something we may have to do in the long term, and it is not clear as to what this thing is. So yes, as it was, it came to the parliament, but it was not fleshed out, it was not clear. So we then called in the forum of the political parties and asked, okay, what were you trying to accomplish here? And they were talking about doing it by parishes and so on, but it was not clearly fleshed out. And even in the same document of the 23rd of September 2016, where after all the consultations were completed and the members of the forum of political parties were commenting on the proposals put forward, they themselves were saying that this is not something that we can implement right away. It needs further thought. It needs further fleshing out. And they themselves recommended that that same process where the president nominates some independents and you're able to bring in councillors and so on, that too was proposed there in that 2016 document. So what we've done is taken the same position as the Scottish Parliament, where the, item number 18 on the Schedule 2, the ability to make laws, allows the Tobago House of Assembly to make whatever legislation or laws it may need to deepen the democracy, to get civil society involved, to get young people involved, just like was done by the Scottish Parliament, which is also unicameral. The St. Kitts and Nevis, who we point to, are also unicameral. Northern Ireland recommended unicameral also.
We have one more, and then we'll have to ask you to wrap. Let's take this call, two more rather. Let's take them one after the next. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, I have two questions. The first question, I don't understand why one of our representatives or both of our representatives in Parliament is not piloting this bill. Why central government has to be the piloter of the bill, knowing fully well that the human nature, the opposition, whoever they are, is going to be naturally antagonistic because they don't want to show up the central government or whoever in governance in any proper light. So naturally they will try and not support it. And since they say that they need 3/4, therefore we need the opposition, whoever they are, and central government, whoever they are. Wouldn't it be better for our representatives in Parliament to pilot the motion, and so the person would get support from both sides to make the three-quarter instead of having the central government or the party in governance pilot the bill? And the next question I want to ask, I'm curious to know what the United Nations, what was their official stance when you all went to them, in a nutshell?
All right. All right. And that would be our last question, given that you took up the time. Response.
Thank you, caller. Two things: piloting the bill or piloting the motion. At the end of the day, the government still is the government, and the chairman of the committee piloted the motion. And whether it came out the mouth of the chairman of the committee or member of the bench or a Tobagonian member, at the end of the day, the government is still the government. This is the government's position. You would have seen the chairman of the committee, Camille Robinson-Regis, piloted the bill, and Dr. Rowley closed the bill. But at the end of the day, every member of the parliament, whether you're from Tobago or not, have that equal vote and that equal right to contribute to the deliberations and placing their vote and so on. So to me, it doesn't matter exactly whose mouth it came out of. The government is still the government, and this is the government's position on this matter. So we, as a parliament of the whole, need to do our work towards passing this legislation. The second item she raised,
UN response.
United Nations response. And when we first engaged the United Nations, the United Nations said, you're saying so many things in this 2016 recommendation or proposal. On one end, you're saying you want a unitary state, but in the document, you have some items that speak to secession and some items that speak to federation. What exactly do you want? You know? And they went through the legislation, the proposal of 2016 with us and saying, well, if you want to maintain the unitary state, then this is a matter that speaks to secession. This can't be in here. Or, you know, so we got that kind of advice from the United Nations throughout. So at the end of the day, this is not to say a PNM bill. You had members of the government, the opposition, the independents, and we didn't just sit down and say, oh, let's throw together a bill. We did the homework, we did the research, and engage the necessary people, the UN, and so on. And all of that
we got to go. Just give us the email address again. I have it somewhere here. I did share it when Ms. Camille Robinson was on. But just to remind
Tobago. Yes, it is Tobago self-gov at ttparliament.org. So that is TOBAGO selfgov at ttparliament. That is ttparliament.org. Yes. So Tobago self-gov at ttparliament.org, and we look forward to receiving your comments and your recommendations so that the committee of the whole, all 41 of us, can get down to the business and do what needs to be done towards passing this very important piece of legislation. We don't want to lose this work. We don't want to lose the research. We know it is resting on strong consultation, 14 years of consultation, research, and reaching out to other jurisdictions and so on. We want to make the best of it.
We want to thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Brother Keith. Thank you, Tobago. Have a good one.
Have a good day as well. All right, so we go for a break. When we come back, we speak Wellness Wednesday. And, of course, our guest is on Zoom. See you then.